My God, I hate drugs.
As of this time, nakausap natin yung provincial director doon. Ang tama niya ay sa hita, yung accidental shooting sa kanyang sarili.
Okay.
Unang-una, accordingly, siya ang nakatama mismo sa sarili niya dahil may itinabi daw siyang baril na hindi naman nata sa kanya doon sa dati niyang aid. No?
Okay.
At nakisakay siya doon sa sasakyan. At unknowingly, loaded yung baril at tinamaan yung kanyang hita, lumabas din naman yung at wala namang daw so far nakita na tinamaan na buto. So he's out of danger at tinransfer siya sa Cebu Hospital.
Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara says he will look into allegations of conflict of interest against the Solicitor General. He made the assurance in his confirmation hearing at the Commission on Appointments. Guevara says he will investigate contracts won by the security agency of Calida's family from the Justice Department. Vigilant Investigative and Security Agency Incorporated reportedly won 12.4 million pesos worth of contracts from the DOJ in 2017. We hear
Ang concern ng DOJ principally is whether yung mga procurement laws, rules, and regulations have been followed. Kasi public bidding yan eh. Everyone is entitled to bid. For now, the presumption is regular on its face. Regular, not necessarily valid kasi hindi naman namin tinitingnan yung question of validity. As to the contract itself, wala namang sinasabi na invalid. Ha? Bakit invalid? Meron bang batas na nilabag? Procurement law? Nobody has come up with such an allegation.
We hear more on this issue from the Solicitor General himself on The Source. Catch his full interview with our senior anchor and correspondent, Pinky Webb, live at 9 a.m. Former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno formally asks the Supreme Court to reconsider its ruling to unseat her. Sereno's legal counsel Justin Mendoza filed a motion for reconsideration for the Supreme Court to reverse its May 11th ruling. That is on the quo warranto petition filed against her by Solicitor General Jose Calida. A quo warranto petition is a legal proceeding where a person's right to hold office is challenged. Sereno's camp earlier expressed their plan to file the appeal, saying the 8-6 vote of the SC justices gave them hope the motion of reconsideration would prosper. But for the High Court to reverse its ruling, 2 justices who earlier granted the quo warranto have to upend their vote. A heartbreaking homecoming from Ireland to Pampanga. The aircraft carrying the body of Filipino student Justine Valdez arrived at the Clark International Airport Wednesday evening. It touched down at around 6:30 p.m. Irish authorities said Valdez was abducted and murdered. Witnesses said a woman matching Valdez's description was seen bundled into a car on May 19th, a Saturday, the day after a police tracked and fatally shot the suspect, a 40-year-old man. The body of Valdez was found the Monday after.
As fuel gets more expensive, the transport sector is asking for higher fares, while the jeepney fare hike petition is pending before regulators. Some transport groups are appealing for higher fuel discounts. Our Makoy Popioco tells us more.
Jeepney driver Noel Texon says he needs to earn at least 2,000 pesos on a 14-hour shift. He spends at least 1,000 pesos on fuel every day, and he needs to pay a 600 peso boundary or fee to the jeepney owner. Noel takes home about 400 pesos for his family every day.
Malaking epekto sa pamilya namin. Lalo na ako, marami rin akong anak. Kagaya ngayon, hindi pa ako nakakabili ng gamit ng bata para sa eskwela.
Noel says rising fuel prices is making it difficult to make ends meet. That's why he supports some jeepney operators' petition for a fare hike. And they want a big-time fare hike of 4 pesos, which somewhat surprised regulators during a hearing.
Now you are asking for plus 4 pesos. Tama po ba?
They want the current 8 peso fare raised to 12 pesos. Asked about the changes in the fare hike amount, petitioner Pasang Mazda President Obet Martin issues a clarification.
Nagkaroon pala sila ng pag-uusap ng aming abogado na para siguro binanggit ni Ms. Maran para dun sa brand yung nag-GP.
Martin says their petition remains at 2 pesos. This was filed last February. Regulators say transport groups should present a common fare hike petition for the next hearing on June 13th. Meanwhile, the jeepney groups are also proposing another scheme to cushion the impact of high fuel prices. A 4 to 5 peso fuel discount in exchange for the fare hike.
Walang problema. Sa 8 pa rin tayo. 5 pesos na gawin ng discount from 45 hanggang 40, okay na kami doon. Para mapagbigyan din natin ang mga kahilingan ng ating mga mananakay.
Some oil companies are already giving a 1 peso discount for POV drivers. But Martin says this amount is not enough. Lizada says transport regulators will meet with oil executives about the proposed discount on June 15th.
If they are able to have basketball teams, di ba may mga basketball team sila? Pwede ba kami naman na ngayon ang humingi ng tulong sa inyo? It's not for us. The end objective is for the riding public.
The oil price spike is cutting across other modes of transport as well, as airline companies seek permission to restore the fuel surcharge on passengers. The surcharge was removed in early 2015.
Po ang mga petitions namin hindi naman talaga sa increase ng pamasahe but petitions for the reimposition of the fuel surcharge. So dalawang domestic carriers na po natin nag-file ng petition to lift the prohibition on fuel surcharge, PAL and Cebu Pacific.
Some shipping companies have already adjusted fares to reflect higher fuel costs.
Based from our franchising service, Mr. Chair, there are some ship owners are starting to increase their fares to recover for the increase in fuel prices.
Cheaper fuel may not come soon. That's why people in the transport sector like Noel could only hope the government and oil companies heed their plea for relief. Makoy Popioko, CNN Philippines.
News, we still have half an hour for you guys. We'll be here. Join us till 7:30. Now, so shortly after the president certified the BBL as urgent, lawmakers passed the proposed bill second and third reading at the same time in one day yesterday. Now, however, there are still some provisions of this proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law that needs to be addressed. We have more on this later on in the program.
And also, President Duterte sees no reason to fire Solicitor General Jose Calida over the 150 million pesos worth of government contracts signed by his family's security agency. And as we heard, the president said that he is good. And he has the right to own a business, and that the security agency has been owned by Calida and his family for a very long time. But he will be with us today on The Source at 9 a.m. So you guys can catch that interview.
And netizens just can't stop talking about Ann Curtis and Ding Dong Dantes' new film. They team up for the first time in the big screen with their new movie, Sid and Aya, Not a Love Story. The movie is now showing in local cinemas.
I think I want to watch
Me
that.
too. I really want to see this movie.
Not a love story. Everything is like so negative these days. Walang forever, not a love story. No, not everything. Anyway, stick around. We have more stories coming up. You're watching New Day on CNN Philippines. Chambers of Congress have approved their own versions of the Bangsamoro Basic Law on the last day of sessions. This comes a day after President Rodrigo Duterte formally certified the bill as urgent, which made it possible for lawmakers to approve the bill on second and third reading consecutively. On Monday, the president met with the leadership of the Senate and House, as well as the proponents of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. After 10 hours of deliberations, the Senate approved its version of the bill shortly before 1 a.m. All 21 senators present voted in favor of the bill. Only Senators Manny Pacquiao and Laila de Lima were not able to cast their votes. Among the issues heavily discussed by the senators was the rules covering which municipality or town in the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao can be part of the Bangsamoro government.
We will have to figure out whether, if in the plebiscite, let's say, those towns decide that they will not join, then we have a new situation. If they decide that they will join, and the rest of the province don't want to join, that's another situation. What kind of rule do we want? Is it the majority?
Over at the House of Representatives, 227 lawmakers voted in favor of the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. 11 were against and 2 abstained. In an earlier statement, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez admits he is concerned about the bill's constitutionality as it will abolish the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao of ARMM and establish a new Bangsamoro political entity and its basic structure of government. Lawmakers will convene in a bicameral conference when sessions resume in July on the day of the President's State of the Nation address. President Duterte's move to certify the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law as a priority measure may have drawn praises among Filipino Muslims, but some could not help but express dismay, even shock, on how Congress, particularly the Senate, is deliberating on the passage of the bill. David Santos tells us more.
The government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front signed a comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro or CAB in 2014. It was a historic peace deal, ending decades-long of armed conflict that has killed over 100,000 people in Mindanao. Ana Tarhata Basman was among those who tirelessly worked behind the scenes. She was the head of the government panel's legal team.
Some of the things that were amended yesterday were matters of practicality. Those were the considerations. It cannot be done. It's going to be difficult to do. But, you know, it's difficult until it's done.
Basman is among many Filipino Muslims who have been monitoring deliberations for the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law or BBL in Congress this week. The BBL, which will replace the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, was among major compromises in the peace agreement. One senator sought to delete the list of all proposed powers of the Bangsamoro government, virtually rendering it ineffective in substance. Another wanted to lessen the coverage of the Bangsamoro Maritime Territory and do away with future plebiscites.
What we would have wanted was for them to look at it from the perspective of the peace process, that this was a product of decades of negotiations. It encapsulates the aspirations of a group of people that has for a long time felt neglected or isolated or cannot relate to the central authorities.
On Facebook, some netizens can't help but express their dismay. Human rights lawyer Sainuddin Malang describes the process as painful to watch, especially for the Bangsamoro Transition Commission or BTC, which crafted the bill. It must be humiliating for the BTC members to spend hours watching the draft law get mangled page by page and be powerless, Malang writes. BTC member Jo Lorena responds saying the humiliation will not stop the Moro struggle their ancestors have long initiated. Malacanang says it is aware of the BBL's contentious issues and is closely monitoring the deliberations with the MILF.
They will not go to war. Kilala naman natin sila. They will become very good partners.
Security forces, however, are keeping an eye on other armed groups in Mindanao that may exploit possible discontent brought about by the outcome of the legislation.
Meron tayong monitor, of course. Ang ating security forces ay nagbabantay kung anong magiging development yan. Hindi natin pinababayaan yan.
Basma says she hopes the deleted provisions at the Senate will be restored in the bicameral conference. David Santos, CNN Philippines.